the fourth easiest schedule the rest of the way belongs to the New Orleans Pelicans.
Mm.
That's one of the big takeaways I've had from the first half is just how bright the New Orleans Pelicans future is. Their present is a little bit complicated because, Brandon Ingram's foot injury is really dragging. We've seen this before with toe injuries. And they just can't be they've done really well to be third in the West, considering the amount of games that Ingram has missed, and now Zion with the hamstring out. But they've had other guys who've been banged up too. CJ McCollum was in he's really rounded into form at 38 points in their game on Wednesday night, but he was slumping. My point is they haven't even hit their best. But when you watch them and you see how Zion has rounded into really more like the player that we all thought we would see when he was drafted, been way more impactful in defensive end than he was when we've seen earlier in his career, continues to be a dominating force on offense. I have a huge high opinion of Brandon Ingram. And you look at the way some of their younger players have been developing, not just Herb Jones, but also Trey Murphy, Jose Alvarado, Najee Marshall, Dyson Daniels, their lottery pick rookie. And then you think about how they have the Lakers first round pick and swap. Now the Lakers have done a much better job, after that awful first month, and their pick isn't looking as rosy, but there's still a really good chance it's going to be in the lottery. And so that means they're facing potentially back-to-back years of being a playoff team themselves while being able to draft in the lottery, the fruits of the Anthony Davis trade. And if you look where they're at, they have a bunch of trade assets that they can put together. I mean, you look at Devontae Graham, you look at Garrett Temple, you look at Jackson Hayes. They can assemble salary together and use potentially some of their draft assets to upgrade this roster if they want, whether it's by February or if it's in the summer. And the contracts that they have signed, the contract that they gave Devontae Graham is not looking so good. Okay. And it's been mitigated by the fact that Jose Alvarado has been a complete steal. And then the contract they signed him to after they found him as a diamond in the rough has also benefited them. And, but the contracts that they have are all reasonable contracts. You might take issue with the CJ McCollum extension and say, boy, I don't know how that's going to look in two and a half or so years, but that contract actually descends in value. So, they've done a pretty good job of putting themselves in position, not only to be a contender this year, but to really be able to upgrade their roster, whether it's through the draft or through trade. And their young guys have continued seriously to get better. I don't know what Pelton and Bobby Marks, do you do the future power rankings too? Bontemps, are you involved in the future power rankings? Okay. How do you guys have a formula that you weight when you judge those rankings?
Yes. You mean, there's a formula for each category in terms of how much it's weighted. Yes. I don't remember exactly what the weightings are across the board.
I got to feel like New Orleans, if we did one right now, New Orleans would rank pretty high. Where they're at.
Maybe number one.
Obviously
everything depends on Zion's ability to maintain conditioning, stay healthy long term. But dude, you just listed a long list of guys who are developing good complementary fits, and their stars are 25 and 22. Their two best players are 25 and 22, and Zion has a chance to be a perennial, at least MVP in the conversation. He's got a chance to be a top 10 player for a long time. Well, I don't know, for a long time, for a window here.
Yeah, it's all qualified with his health. We whatever you want to say, Zion, just assume that it's all qualified with his health.
New Orleans was 11th in October in our last round of the power rankings.
That's what I'm saying.
Behind Phoenix, behind Denver, behind Toronto, behind Miami, behind Philly. Might be
okay.
Maybe I would have thought that was a little
no, you got Einstein and Sir Isaac Newton. And then
Now
you
remember
got
what you were
like
told by your wife.
Bozo the
Remember what you
Clown
were
in the
told.
group.
He remembered.
Wow. What?
Like I would have thought that was maybe a tad low, but I wouldn't have like taken major issue with it. What about now, Bontemps? What do you think about where they're at now? I mean, I'm not telling you to do the
I
formula
mean,
on top
they're
of your head,
they're probably going to move up. I would say they'd move up a decent amount. I mean, they were 10th in players and tied for 15th in management. Those are probably both going to go up in the next round of voting. I would
also
guess.
think Willie Green's proven that he's a really,
that's what
really good coach.
That's part of the management grade, right? Like he's done a really good job. Like that's going to go up higher. Their player grade probably goes up higher, so they move up a few spots. And some of the teams above them, teams like Toronto, Phoenix, Miami that have disappointed, they're going to slide back the other way a little bit.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.